Okay, so China is taking advantage of this stupid trade war between Canada and the US, and they're putting tariffs on Canada now. This might have flown under the radar for you, but did you guys notice that China put some tariffs on Canadian farm and food products this week? That's going to be 100% tariffs on Canadian rapeseed oil cakes and pea imports, and 25% on Canadian aquatic products, so seafood and pork. Look, this is big. Rapeseed oil is just fancy speak for canola oil. Our exports of canola oil to China is actually like a $5 billion industry based on 2023 numbers. Our export of pork to China is also an industry worth hundreds of millions of dollars. So, not something to really thumb your nose at, right? These tariffs from China will take effect on March 20th. No one's really talking about this because we're so focused on this Trump recession and annexation talk. Most people don't realize how sneaky this is from China. They've timed this perfectly. But as a Canadian, fuck them for being so brilliant. And this right here is why the Chinese keep winning. They actually think long term, unlike what we're getting in North America at this time. This also shows that they have the capacity to be petty. Respectfully. Let me explain, okay? Here's why this is sneaky. This tariff on Canada was actually retaliation for Canada's 100% tariffs on Chinese-made electric vehicles from October last year. So we put tariffs on them in October, partly to protect our car manufacturing sector here in Canada. You might know that the Trudeau government, and to some extent the provincial government as well, invested a lot of money in electric vehicle supply chains over the last few years. The Ford electric vehicle plant in Quebec is one example of such investments. Ottawa and Quebec announced over $640 million in investments in that particular plant. The Stellantis LG battery plant in Windsor, Ontario was also a big investment. So part of the idea with these 100% tariffs on electric vehicles from China is to protect their investment. The other reason why we put tariffs on Chinese-made EVs was because the US and Europe were doing it. Here's where it gets crazy. Our tariffs don't actually do anything. I'm about to blow your mind here. I did this math like a few months ago, and it's relevant in this video, so I'll tell you about it. Think about this for a second. So the cheapest Chinese-made electric vehicle is the BYD Seagull, right? It goes for around $9,700 US. 100% tariffs means you double that price. Okay, so that comes to around $19,400 US, even with the tariffs, right? Guess how much the cheapest non-China made electric vehicle costs? $26,500. So that's still quite a bit more than what it would cost you to buy a Chinese made EV, even with 100% tariffs. When I did this math, my mind was absolutely blown. But anyways, that's geek stuff, right? When we put 100% tariffs on a few months ago, guess what China did? China opened an anti-dumping investigation into Canadian canola exports. Essentially, they were accusing Canada of selling a massive amount of canola oil at a discount compared to the domestic market. This is sort of what we accuse the Chinese of doing with everything from aluminum and steel to electric vehicles. The idea is that with lower prices, over time, they can kill your domestic industry or eliminate competitors. So China also reported us to the World Trade Organization. Look, you wish everybody you put a tariff on or start a trade war with would open an investigation and report you to the headmaster. I bet Trump would love that very much right now. Anyways, fast forward 6 months, a certain Donald Trump is in office. You've never heard of that guy before, right? Just a few months ago, the US and Canada were collaborating on tariffs to protect the North American supply chain against China. Now, in the new Trump world order, the US is placing sweeping tariffs on Canada, and Canada is retaliating elbows up, right? So both economies are suffering. China, after basically waiting for 6 months, finally sports an opportunity. That's the genius of their timing right there. We already know this trade war with the US will be messy the longer it continues, and that's just the way Trump wants it to go, right? So China's tariffs on top of that will only increase the pain on Canadians, and they are our second largest trading partner, right? Our canola industry is big business. So this targeted approach will definitely inflict maximum pain on Canadian farmers. They've also hit the US with 15% tariffs on agricultural products as well. And this is why this Trump trade war is absolutely stupid. While we're doing this whole back and forth, tariff on, tariff off, while our industries on both sides of the border is suffering, China's winning. And they can just take advantage of this whole trade war and the confusion like they've done this week and just twist the knife to inflict maximum pain on both countries. But you know who's great at twisting the knife? Doug Ford, my guy. What an absolute stud of a man, right? It is criminal just how much hate that man is receiving from conservative media outlets here in Canada. Like, all I know is that I don't want anybody else speaking for Canada on American television if it is not Doug Ford. That guy gets it. He had this whole back and forth with Trump over the last day or so. Listen to what he said about putting 25% export tariffs on electricity to the U.S.
Talk a little bit about Ontario, your province, and the electrical power it shares with the states in the United States along the border. A lot of it is coming from Ontario, right?
That's correct. We power 1.5 million homes and businesses in New York and Michigan and in Minnesota. I just got off the phone with Governor Whitmer. I consider her a friend. We worked together for 7 years. She's a wonderful person, and I apologize to her. She understands. But what I recommend is on the electricity bill, put down this increase is a tariff from Trump. It's a Trump tariff, which is basically a Trump tax.
I really like what he did there. He made sure to tell Americans, if your prices go up, it is because of Donald J. Trump. Recession? Also Trump. Your stocks are falling? Blame Trump. I don't think people recognize the genius of this right here, right? Here's White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt talking about Doug Ford's threat to put export tariffs on electricity going to the U.S. Watch.
But certainly his phone. The president has not yet spoken to Mr. Carney, not since I checked, which was just moments ago. But certainly his phone is always open to leaders who wish to speak with him. As for the tariffs, the president made his position on this quite clear with the statement that he put out. And it was a retaliatory statement due to the escalation of rhetoric that we've seen out of Ontario, Canada. The president saw the Premier, Doug Ford, make an egregious and insulting comment threatening to shut down electricity for the American people, for hardworking American families. He made that threat. The president saw that and has an obligation and a responsibility to respond accordingly and represent the interests of the American people. So he has made the decision to add a 25% tariff. So now steel and aluminum tariffs will come into effect tomorrow at the rate of 50%.
She said egregious and insulting, I'm Mary Karen over here, you guys. When did the U.S. turn into such a Karen, though? Like, egregious and insulting? We're just going to act like you've been nothing but nice with your actions and your tweets over the last few months, eh? And the funny thing is, Doug Ford didn't even insult you. He just stated facts. Like how Canada doesn't want to be the 51st state. I know it's insane, isn't it? Why wouldn't Canada want to be a part of the United States? Like, who could have thunk it, right? Obviously, Trump responded to Doug Ford in classic Trump fashion. Absolute meltdown on Truth Social. Like, the tirade was crazy. Like, Trump came out swinging, threatening fire and brimstone. He said he'd increase the tariffs on Canadian aluminum and steel to 50%. They're on 25% right now. He said he'd shut down car manufacturing in Canada permanently. He says, why would our country allow another country to supply us with electricity even for a small area? Who made these decisions and why? And can you imagine Canada stooping so low as to use electricity that so affects the life of innocent people as a bargaining chip and threat? They will pay a financial price for this so big that it will be read about in history books for many years to come. That's what Donald Trump said. Doug Ford is in his head, you guys. Can you imagine Trump talking about bargaining and threatening with things that affect innocent people? Canadians are innocent too, Donald. Like, Doug Ford is actually winning, you guys. And this tweet just seems like an aggressive response to export tariffs on electricity, don't you think? Like I thought Trump said they don't need anything from Canada. They don't need our oil. They don't need our electricity. They don't need anything from Canada. They just want us to be the 51st state, but they don't need us. Like you gotta get your story straight. Yeah. Anyways, China is absolutely licking their lips right now. I still don't know why Trump thinks any of this will end well for anybody. Trump's Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick spoke to Doug Ford afterwards, and it looks like Ontario's dropping the export tariffs on electricity. We'll see what the U.S. is offering in return. But it does look like they're coming to the table. It sounds like everybody's backing down a little bit. There are actually some dumb fucks out there, even here in Canada, saying Doug Ford bent the knee. The amount of shit out there right now. Look, I support Doug Ford here. He brought out the big guns and got President Trump's attention. And he was polite about it too. He actually he actually called around and apologized to the governors of the states that would be affected if he cut off the electricity. And to be fair, he didn't actually say he would use it. He just said he might use it. Just a suggestion. Same way you've been suggesting we become the 51st state. Nothing wrong with that. We can all suggest things. Anyways, I absolutely love that guy. I don't want to see anybody else negotiating for Canada if it is not Doug Ford. Give Doug Ford a job. He stated very clearly that the whole goal with threatening tariffs on the electricity is to negotiate a permanent end to the tariff threats. And it looks like he has got Trump's attention. He's headed to the White House tomorrow or something. He's going with Minister Dominic LeBlanc to meet with Howard Lutnick and maybe even Trump. I'll say that's a win. He's got Trump's attention, and that's all you can hope for right now. Now we talk, and hopefully we can get this whole nightmare over and done with sooner rather than later. This whole trade war is so stupid. But here's another thing I wanted to talk to you guys about. There's a conservative YouTube channel here in Canada that sat there basically backing up Trump. And they were saying, oh, he's doing the right thing, giving whatever he wants. There's a method to why he's doing what he is. And, this will benefit I'm like, okay. Anyways, apparently Fox News cares about economics now. You should see them explaining away the reason why the S&P 500 is down. It's the funniest thing. It's like watching an elephant do a cartwheel. It is that ugly. Anyways, all I've got to say is well done, Doug Ford. I think let's see how long this whole truce lasts for now before Trump torpedoes everything again with another grievance. It's like we're playing whack-a-mole out there, right? Actually, tomorrow we'll know if he will be putting tariffs on aluminum and steel. And by the way, does anyone still believe this whole thing is about fentanyl? You tell me, okay? And if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe and join the conversation. I'll see you next time. Take care, guys.